This is a new Porsche Panamera, and it's a third time lucky car. Now let me explain why. You see, the first time Porsche tried to cross their 911 sports car with a luxury saloon, they came up with this, the 989, which was based on the 996 version of the 911, in case you're wondering, and it never made production. Little wonder, bit ugly. When they finally got the concept kind of right, it was this, the first version of the Panamera, which looks a bit blobby, kind of hunchbacky. An ugly looking brute, really. This time around though, they've got it right. It's a nice looking car, isn't it? Apart from these horrible garish brake calipers on this e-hybrid version. Other than that though, yeah, smart looking thing, though you do have to pay for it. This car starts from £68,000. Now, if you want to see how much money you can save on a new car, click on the pop-out banner, top right hand corner of the screen, or on the link below the video to go to carwow, or just Google carwow. I really love the interior of this Panamera. It's a really simple, clean, sporty design. I like the way that you're separated from the front passenger with this big central tunnel. It feels super sporty. The seating position, you can get it nice and low. The steering wheel sporty as well. And if you want it, you can jack up the seat so you get a better view out, but it kind of ruins the actual feel of the car. I love the seats on this particular model. They are the upgraded seats. You can extend the base out really far to give you lots of under thigh support, and then you can alter lots of other different pieces on the seat as well. And there is enough adjustment in it if you want to create lots of legroom because you're a bit of a lanky person. The steering column, that's electrically operated. There's a lot of movement in that as well. So it's easy to get comfy in this car. And the quality of the materials in here are second to none. So the leather, the dash, everything just feels super expensive. I like the metal bits of trim about the place. Solid metal on the door handles, which is really, really nice. Everything feels super sturdy and really well screwed together. It's very hard to fault, even the little buttons up here. And yeah, the window switches are plastic, but they've got a nice gloss effect to them. The sun visor feels sturdy and expensive. The way the vanity mirror cover slides, the lighting up here as well, the little LEDs, it's all just super, super expensive. And this frameless mirror. The only thing about this mirror though is that it's really tiny for such a big car, but then that's because the view at the back is so small. There's no point actually having a very big mirror there. It is lovely and nicely laid out and easy to use as well. The digital dials that you get are really, really cool. However, the central dial is actually analog. That's for the rev counter, but then you do have digital speedo in it. The rest of the dials look sort of analog, but they're not, they're digital, and you can cycle through different views like this. So you can even have sat nav on there if you want, then use the other side to cycle through the different views on this other screen here. Very, very cool. Obviously you've got this main screen here for the car's key infotainment system, and it's a touchscreen system. It's not actually the easiest to use. You've got these little icons down the side that you have to jump through. Then there's certain little buttons up there to expand various menus. While it does make a clicking sound when you press the button, the screen doesn't vibrate to really confirm it like the screen does in Audi's latest system, and that means that when you're driving along, especially at speed in this car, it can be a bit of a faff to kind of operate the system. You do have a little swivel wheel down here that you can control the menus with and rotate through different functions, and there's some shortcut buttons here as well which do click when you press them, but they're kind of awkward to get at because the gear selector's in the way. So too is the volume control. It's there, it's a rotary dial, that's silly. I like this though, the temperature controls are very easy to operate because they're physical buttons there, you just press them, and then there's the seat heating and all of that there as well. And then obviously the passenger's got theirs. Weird thing though is when you come to operate the direction of this central air vent, you're like, how do I do that? You have to go into the menu to climb it, and then you can control the central vent electrically. So that all moves around the vent in there, which seems kind of cool, but a little bit kind of unnecessary. What happens when your passenger jumps in, they try and move it and they break it? Yeah, it's going to be a little bit annoying, isn't it? Tell you what's also annoying, the equipment list on this car. So if you actually look at this one I've got here, you go, oh, that's all pretty nice. You've got some cool features like ambient lighting down there. It's super luxurious with the two-tone leather and stuff. That's because this car is highly optioned. This thing is worth about £160,000. It's got about 20 grand's worth of options on it. It's insane. Now what we need to talk about now is actually the kit you get as standard as you move through the range of the Panamera. As standard, all Panameras get at least dual zone climate control and an 8-speed automatic gearbox. They also get leather seats and a 10-speaker stereo with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility. S models add a wider choice of interior trim colour choices, folding rear seats which split 60/40, and beefier brakes. GTS models add Sports Chrono package, which includes a little stopwatch on the dash, electrically operated sport seats with 18 ways of adjustment. It's quite a lot of adjustment, that. And a black sports exhaust. Turbo models get height adjustable air suspension, a 14 speaker Bose sound system for playing your banging tunes, and Porsche Park Assist. Turbo SE hybrid models add luxurious Alcantara headlining, 21-inch alloy wheels and carbon ceramic brake discs. Now for all those different models you can add an executive pack, and that includes a panoramic glass sunroof, rear seats that recline for greater relaxation and split 3 ways so you can carry 2 people in the back and longer items through the middle. And rear wheel steering, so the back wheels actually steer in the opposite direction to the front wheels at low speed to aid manoeuvrability. Then when you're going faster, they turn in the same direction as the front to aid stability. Finally then, let's talk about practicality here in the front of the car. You've got some massive door bins. Look, that's a 1.5 litre bottle, and there's another 750 millilitre bottle there. You've got 2 cup holders there, varying sizes. So look, you've got one for a smaller cup there, and it's not too deep that you can't get a small cup of coffee in there, and a bigger one there for your larger cup of coffee. Underneath here you have a 12-volt charger, you've got your input for USB, and there's a little storage area here. And I like this, look, there is a place for your mobile phone there, and you can keep it out of sight so you're not messing with it when you're driving along. Also, there's a little storage area there, perfect for your keys. The glove box is only just about big enough for the manual. Looks like it's going to be huge, but once you've got that in there, there ain't much space for much else. Now let's move on to the back. So the rear doors on this Panamera, the opening's not too huge, but the doors do open quite wide. So it's not such a pain to open in tight parking spots because you can get in and out quite easily. I'll just jump in here. So, considering this is a sporty car, there's plenty of room here in the back seats. Look, a lot of headroom, loads of knee room. If the person in front of you has their seat low, you can't really stretch out underneath the seat, but if they lift it up, then you can do, and it feels a bit like a limousine then in the back. Children probably won't like the fact that this rear window ledge is quite high, so they might struggle to get a view out. Speaking of kids, fitting a child seat is relatively easy in here, apart from one thing. Isofix anchor points are somewhere in there, so it can be a bit of a faff to locate it. Also, you can probably tell as well, look, this car is a 2-seater only in the back, but people over 6 foot will be fine. I mean, I'm just average height, and I've got this seat in my driving position, and as you can see, I've got loads and loads of room. It's really quite nice. Then you've got this central console here, which separates you from the rear passenger. Once again, makes it feel sporty. This one has the upgraded 4-zone climate control, so we've got the same thing going on here in the back with the vents as we had in the front. Now this particular area is quite interesting because look, under here, oh, that works really nice. You've got some cup holders. Now I should point out that you're going to need them because the door bins are absolutely tiny, but you can put a bottle in there. It's not really very deep, but did you see that? Look, you can actually raise up the cup holder so it can carry taller bottles like that, and then in the other one you have a little gripper there so you can put your energy drink in there, and there are 2 charging ports for each person's mobile device. So that is quite cool. And I'll tell you what's nice as well, the quality just extends back here. So you've got airplane style pockets on the seat back, so yeah, it will hold your iPad nice and firmly. Also you've got metal surrounds for the rear ventilation system. There's another one up here. The lighting back here is just as cool, LEDs as in the front. You've got a coat hook there, but if you don't want a coat dangling here, there's another one here as well. It's all very luxurious, and the ambient lighting, if you paid extra for it, does extend back here as well, and there around the speaker again. I could easily travel a long way in the back of this car. Speaking of the back of this car, one of the problems with the old Panamera is that the back end just was hideous. This one though, look at it. It's super cool. I love this light bar here and the 3D Porsche badge. I could look at this back end for quite a while. It's really, really nice. Anyway, we need to move on to the boot itself. In terms of the capacity, it's almost 500 litres, which is 100 of these to put into perspective. And as you can see, it's a hatchback, so in some ways it's easier to load. In other ways it's not though, because there is a bit of a boot lip there. You do have a scuff plate so you don't damage the paintwork, but it's a bit of a effort if you've got heavy suitcases lifting things in and out. Also, I should point out, if you put your suitcases that way, it's hard to shut the boot. It might do, let's see, might push it to the front. And that means that you can't really carry like big boxes or that like you might expect to see in some other hatchback cars. Another thing I'll show you is this, look. Because this is the hybrid version, there are batteries under there. Now, it doesn't actually affect the boot space compared to the normal turbo, but underneath here on the normal car, you'd have storage, but there's no room in this hybrid version. There are a few tie-down hooks there and there, and you've got a 12-volt socket there for plugging in a drinks cooler, and of course you can fold down the rear seats. You can just about do it from the boot here. You just press those buttons. I mean, everything's so solid though that it does take quite a push. And then you've got a relatively flat floor. There is a bit of a gap between the seats and the floor where things can drop down, but you can still push things to the front like that. It's not the most practical, luxurious saloon or hatchback, but it's pretty good, and there's a fair amount of things you can fit in there if you need to carry lots of stuff. So yeah, this is a car that looks good, it's sporty to drive, and it's reasonably practical.
Now then, it's time for the CarWow 5 annoying things about this car.
The bag for all the charging gubbins for the e-hybrid models, it just takes up so much blooming space. Rather than a normal stop-start button that you'd expect on a sporty car, you get this weird kind of paddle thing that looks like it's been half melted into the dash. Depending on where the sun is, you get severe reflections of the sports chrono pod in the windscreen. It's even worse in certain directions when it actually reflects off the clock's face. You can't actually see that now, you're just going to have to take my word for it. The optional rear entertainment system includes these large Android tablets, which are Porsche branded, and they're actually integrated into the car sat nav, so it basically replicates it here with all the car's functions. The problem with this though is that if you want to fold the rear seats down, look, it gets in the way, so you have to remove them. Considering they cost almost $2.5 grand, you absolutely have to remove them from the car every time you park it and leave it somewhere, otherwise a thief will remove them for you. It's a little bit mean that a car of this price doesn't get a reversing camera as standard right across the range. And even when you do have it, the actual graphics aren't that clear.
Don't worry, there's still plenty to like about this car. Here's the CarWow 5 cool features.
This car has a super cool pop-out rear spoiler. Kind of reminds me of the way a Beetle's wings open up out the casings, and then when you're done flying, it folds away. How appropriate to reference a Beetle when talking about a Porsche. The e-hybrid versions of the Panamera can drive on electric power load at speeds of up to 80 miles an hour, and they have an electric only range of up to 20 miles, though not if you're doing 80 miles an hour. Also, you can choose the different hybrid modes, so if you put it into hybrid auto, it will use the engine combined with the electric motor to maximise efficiency. If you press E-hold, it will hold your electric charge at a certain level, so rely more on the engine, so that if you go into low emission zone, you can then run it on electric power alone. Alternatively, if you don't have access to a charging point, you can use the engine to charge up that battery. It's all very clever. This car's retractable load cover also includes a blind. How cool is that? I've never seen that before. Now you'd think that that makes this load cover really hard to remove because obviously it's going to be heavier, and it is quite heavy, but you've got this really sturdy handle with which to release it, and it's actually dead simple to put back, he says. Yeah, see, there you go, not too bad. The Panamera's bonnet, the wings, the doors and the tailgate are made out of aluminium to help keep the weight down. And it does kind of need that, especially in the case of this e-hybrid, because the batteries and the motor add weight. In fact, this particular car here weighs over 2.3 tons. Oh dear. Most cars' seatbelt warning sounds are quite annoying, but not this car's. It's kind of like cool jazz. Listen to that. Doesn't spoil the ambience when you're cruising along on electric power alone. Yeah, baby. Right, and let's talk about engines and pay attention because this could get quite confusing. So the range kicks off with the normal Panamera 4. So that has four-wheel drive, but it has a 3-litre V6 turbo with 330 horsepower. Then there's the Panamera 4S, which has a 2.9-litre V6 turbo with 440 horsepower. Then there's the GTS, which has a 4-litre V8 with 460 horsepower. Then the Turbo, which has the same engine but tuned to 550 horsepower. Now on each of those cars you can add in an e-hybrid system, which includes some batteries and an electric motor, which adds an extra 130 horsepower to each engine's performance. Yeah, it's all very confusing, isn't it? So for more detail, please click on the pop-out banner in the top right-hand corner of the screen, or follow the link below the video to go to CarWow. It's explained a bit better there. Also, while you're there, you can see how much you can save on a new car. This car may well be a plug-in hybrid, but it's also a high performance Porsche. So combined with the V8 and the electric motor, you've got 680 horsepower, and I want to show you how fast this thing is. So I'm going to put it into Sports Plus with Sports Response mode. So I get full power from the engine, full power from the motor, and now I'm just going to launch it, which is dead easy to do. I just floor the brake, floor the throttle. There we go, and let go of the brake. Blimey. Let's measure it to 60. That totally shocked my cameraman, didn't it?
Yeah.
0 to 60. Look at that. What does that say there, Brad?
3.6 seconds.
3.6 seconds to 60, and this thing weighs 2.3 tons. That is madness. And now I can go into electric only mode and just cruise along like I'm trying to save the planet. Oh yeah, silently just wafting on electric power with utter smugness. When you're driving along in town, it's okay, but it really is a big old thing, long and wide, and because you sit quite low, it's hard to judge where the corners of the car are, so you like go through gaps, like gritting your teeth and praying that you're going to make it. And then there's the view out the back, which isn't great either, or over the shoulder. So it can be a bit intimidating in town, and the turning circle is not particularly brilliant either. Get out onto the motorway and this thing excels though, so it's reasonably comfy at speed. You do get a bit of noise from those big old tyres, and I don't think overall it's quite as comfy to waft around in as something like a Mercedes S-Class. In fact, if you want to see what a Mercedes S-Class is like to waft around in, click up there on the pop-out banner in the top right-hand corner of the screen to watch my detailed video review of that car. Now back to this. When you're cruising along, economy in this can be all right depending on where you've charged it. So I charged up last night, full battery, and I averaged just under 40 miles per gallon. However, I was driving sedately, and if you're not careful and you don't charge it, you're going to get very low economy out of this, about 22 miles per gallon. Another thing I think this car isn't quite as good at compared to an S-Class is the ride quality. So over bumps, the suspension does feel a bit on the firm side because it's got a sporty edge, this car. This one has the air suspension, and it's pretty blooming good. It does float-ish, but once again, not quite as soft as an S-Class. You do feel those bumps just a little bit more. Now we've just switched over cameras because I want to show you just what this car is like through the bends, because my cameraman's now trying to hold the camera himself, and watch this. You can hurl this thing around corners and it just grips and goes round. It's insane, but it makes his job really, really hard. It's quite incredible how this thing handles actually for such a big car. And really that's what sets this thing apart from the likes of the Mercedes S-Classes, the A8s and the normal luxury cars, is the sporty handling, that sharp steering. And if you want it to be more fun, you can take over the gears yourself using these paddles, and it really does change gear like that. I do have a few words of warning though, and they're specifically about this e-hybrid version. Because of all the electric motors and battery, you add 300 kilos to the car, and so it doesn't feel quite as agile as the normal car without the system. And then there's the brakes. So the e-hybrids have regenerative braking, and the brakes just don't feel quite so natural, so they're harder to judge, especially in traffic. They can just feel a little bit kind of jerky and grabby, so you can end up kind of kangarooing along a little bit. But other than that, it's like you can have your cake and eat it. Be eco-friendly and a complete and utter hooligan at the same time. Now, if you want to check out the very latest deals on CarWow, just click up there on the pop-out banner in the top right-hand corner of the screen. On the link below the video, just Google CarWow deals and you'll go straight there. So, my verdict on the Porsche Panamera: should you avoid it? Should you consider it? Should you shortlist it? Or should you just go right ahead and buy it? Well, I reckon you should shortlist the Panamera. It's a really good, luxurious car that feels like a sports car to drive. It's just that some other luxury saloons are more practical, slightly comfier to travel in, and better value for money.
Do you agree with my verdict? Let me know in the comments section. Also, please subscribe to this channel for more videos, and if you click on the deals box to the right, you can see how much you can save on a new car at CarWow, or click on the video windows below to watch another of my videos.